I've already explained that I'm not really a fan of the branding. I want to be aware there are things that are just not my taste, but then there's also, I want to change. So I'm going to listen to it. I have already heard Disease and Abracadabra, so I'm going to listen to those at the end and see how I like them with the full album. But just know that I'm going chronologically from 3 down to 14. It's a lot of songs. Okay. It's a lot of songs. So we'll do that. I already am aware that I'm not super stoked about the branding, the orange or the font style, the nature of the graphic design for Mayhem so far. I do like the goth-esque aesthetic. It's very Edward Scissorhands, and it's a bit 80s, which is interesting. I definitely feel like it's a little bit adjacent to her wheelhouse. So it's very fascinating. We'll see how this goes. So this is track 3, Garden of Eden. Okay. So the first few bars immediately sound similar to, what is that song Britney Spears in the Blackout album? What is that song called? It immediately sounds like this. You know what I'm saying? There's a similarity. Anyway, I'm shocked. I am shocked. This is so different than what I expected and so different from what she usually does. What are the lyrics? Oh my god, no. Okay, now we started the song over. That's okay. The lyrics are, go get your friends, meet me on the floor. You're out of candy, I can get you more. You start slurring, I start to squeal. I'm falling over my 9-inch heels. I like the backtrack a lot, actually. I'm attracted to that. I don't understand why she's putting this vocal, this cadence over this backtrack. It's very weird. I don't know how I feel about it. Okay, I like that chorus. I'll take you to the Garden of Eden. I like that part. Everything else I'm like very disappointed by so far. I just feel like these lyrics, like, okay. It's not that every song has to have incredible lyrics. It's just that, why? Why do we have to have lyrics that we've heard a million times? I get it. Whatever, she's painting a picture. It's fine. It's like hot, quick, fling. Okay, sure. I really like the chorus. It's very 2000s, like mid-2000s pop style, which is when she became famous. So I think referencing that time feels good and relevant. I think the backtrack, again, it's very Britney Blackout era. I don't know. I guess I'll finish there's 20 seconds. And also some of the like digital distortion aspects kind of sounds like Chromatica-esque. I mean, it was fine. I feel like it's good. I feel like it's good for compared to what's out right now. But compared to Lady Gaga, what she can do and how long it's taken her to put out another album like this, I just am a bit disappointed in that. But I'm not going to rate every song, but I feel like for this song, out of 5, I'd rate it like a 3.5. Next song is Perfect Celebrity, which is a very interesting title. I'll probably read the lyrics for this one. Okay, I immediately like this track. This track is almost like Matrix-y, and then the way she's singing is almost like how she sang in what was the movie she was in? A Star Is Born. How she sang when she was performing as Allie in that movie. That's kind of how this vocal sounds. Weird. This song, I wonder if she watched The Substance, because it sounds like this is. I didn't watch The Substance, but I know a lot about it. And this song sounds like The Substance. I wonder what the relationship between this movie and this song is. I'm assuming she wrote this song pre The Substance. So very interesting that this theme is like recurring in culture right now, like breaking the mold of the physical body. And that makes a lot of sense to me because we're at the end of Uranus and Taurus, and we just had Jupiter go through Taurus as well. So we're kind of in this period of reckoning with the parameters of perfection and the interest in perfection. So yeah, it's very interesting. I was not expecting where we just went with this. I think this is the chorus. I was not expecting the backtrack change to like classic drums. I have no idea how I feel about this. I really love how she's singing in this second part of the song. And I think that I would say that these lyrics would seem cliche if it weren't for the fact that she literally, I mean, her first album, The Fame, she references celebrity and the princess, like Princess Diana. She makes a lot of references to the fame and its relationship and its impact on celebrities, on people who have fame. So this isn't a new theme for her, but it's like a new way to do the backtrack again. It's so weird because it's also so similar. I also did it's so similar to FK Twigs Eusexual. The references seem slightly similar here. So curious about that. There's a lot of depth to this song, in my opinion. Like, her voice is very raw and she's singing very full on. She's not really holding back at all. And the backbeat is quite, like, the drums are quite simple. And it's a kind of a type of song that we've heard before. Again, that 90s kind of matrixy style. But then also we have the background singers, and I think that's a group of background singers and not just her, but and they're kind of like, the style of that background is very reminiscent of classic records. I don't know how to describe it, like very classic kind of maybe like pop music, but from very, very early on. I don't know how to describe it other than that. So I think that this song is very layered, and I really appreciate it for that. So this last lyric before it just repeats the chorus is really interesting. Catch me as I rebound, without a sound. Save me, I'm underground. I can't be found. Hollywood's a ghost town. The conspiracy theorists are gonna go wild with that one. Okay, Perfect Celebrity. I'll want to listen to it again once over, all the way through, but so far I would not listen to that on my own. But I don't know, so far I feel like I really love the way that she's using her voice on this album, but these past two songs, track 3 and 4, I don't know about them. I don't know. I feel acutely aware of what she's doing with this album, and I feel very in support of that mission and that art. I just don't know if it's like my taste or like interests me. I mean, as a song, with how layered it is, in my opinion, I would rate it a 4 out of 5. Like, it's pretty good, but it's not very, like, not as nice for me to listen to personally. So track 5, Vanish Into You. So interesting, again, I feel like there's a reference to that song in The Fame. Beautiful, dirty, rich, like that kind of vibe. It's a bit like beachy and funky, and that's interesting. I think her vocalization is about to change at this 50-second mark, which I'm excited about. But it's like a different take on that beachy, funky music vibe. So yeah, this is curious as well. This is really interesting. So I'm having this thought as I'm listening to this song. I think this is track 5. Yeah, this is track 5, Vanish Into You. I know that she wanted to make a dancey album partially for her fans. I know that I don't know, I feel like from what I've heard her say about this album so far and from hearing it, there is a bit of it that feels a little bit forced. And I'm like, are we going to get another pop album from her? I'm not sure that we'll get one in the next, like, for another 5 years. Because I just feel like there's something off about, I feel like she's really singing on this album, which is amazing. She's really, like, giving us her all with the vocals. And it's interesting. I think it's produced really well, but there's something missing. It feels like the closing of a particular kind of chapter, and also the start of something new, maybe. It just feels very, a bit eerie and a bit nostalgic and a bit, like, future projecting. It's very strange. The feeling of this album is very strange. Like, this record feels very much like the branding. It's a bit like a mix of different vibes, and it's a bit confusing. And it's a bit dark and apocalyptic, but also more like the Joker she was in, and a bit more The Crow, like that era of, or that vibe of darkness that's a bit like, I don't know, not my favorite version of darkness, but okay. Okay, so that was Vanish Into You. I like the sentiment of the song. You know, when I die, can I vanish into you? And this kind of like runaway love story. I think I like that. Um, I think the song sounds like that. It's a bit like longing and a bit like, yeah, it's just very, there's a lot of longing in it and a bit of angst. But okay, you know, moving on. Killa featuring Gesaffelstein. So the song Killa has some like David Bowie, Prince kind of vibe and influence, and it's a bit like rock and roll, funky. I like again the way that she's singing on it. I like that she's taking creative risks and that there is like clear influence. I think that's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. For some reason with this album I can just hear the amount of work it took to do this album in the studio. There's something about it where like the work that is put into it is so palpable, and like I can also tell she had fun with it, but there's something palpable about how difficult it was to make this. And I haven't watched any interviews with her about it yet, so I don't know if she says that, but there is some like she's using her voice in a different way. There's some technicalities that seem difficult, and yeah, it just seems like a lot of work. So that was Killa. I don't know how to feel about it. I feel like it's a risk, and it's a risk creatively to have created that song, and it's also a risk to put that kind of song out right now in this day and age. It's very nostalgic and reminiscent of a different time in music, but has some current or futuristic qualities to it. So I think the execution on that record is really great. Yeah, I'm just very interested in her interest in this, making this kind of music. It's cool. Okay, so the next song is Zombie Boy. Okay, so Zombie Boy is apparently disco. This is getting kind of spooky. There's something about this album that's a bit spooky. Like there's something Shell-like about her show up on this album. And I get that the vibe is supposed to be spooky, but I feel like there's maybe something else. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like a very fun Halloween song. Some of the vocalizations are kind of like some of the older Halloween songs, like it just slipped my mind immediately as soon as I tried to mention it. The only thing I can think of is Love Shack. There are some vocalizations that sound B-52-ish, but and also the background, the clapping type sound is very B-52-ish. Huh. I really like this end, this last like 20 seconds. This audio here is really cool. That was a ride. It was so unexpected, and for some reason it made me feel like Lady Gaga is dead. There was some kind of mourning with that song, which is really strange, and I mean, it's called Zombie Boy. It's a very interesting decision to make that song. It's very, like I said, it's very fun. It's kind of like a fun Halloween style song, kind of dark. It reminds me of Michael Jackson, Thriller kind of vibe. Not sonically, but like that kind of energy. I'm curious to see if she'll make a video for that song. And again, it's a risk to make this, I think, right now with what's currently popular. Like she's definitely asserting a completely different experience with this record, and I feel like she really did make it for her fans and not to impress anyone. But there are things about it that are still very impressive. So this is fascinating so far. Love Drug. That's so interesting. I feel like, doesn't she have, there's some other song that is similar to that, I think in art pop. So I'm really, really curious to see what this is. So this is track number 6, Love Drug. So far, we're about halfway through the song. Love Drug is like, it's almost just like Lady Gaga proving that she can make an incredible pop song with the same types of lyrics and theme that we've heard over and over and over again, and she can still make the melody interesting and just make a great pop song that we can all dance to, relate to, understand. And that's how I feel about this record so far. Yeah, I feel that one is more like raw and honest than some of the songs that I've heard so far on the album. I feel like, yeah, I find this quite interesting, but very basic, obviously, in terms of content, in terms of lyrics, in terms of the name of the song. All of those things are quite basic, but I think it's a really good pop song. It's a really, really, really good pop song. So that is Love Drug, and that brings us to literally halfway through the album. We're at track 8. Wow. Okay. This album is nothing like what I expected it to be. I don't know what I expected, but I expected something different for sure, especially from Abracadabra and the aesthetic of Abracadabra. I honestly feel like Abracadabra and Disease feel like standout tracks in this album. So I am excited to listen to them with hearing the rest of these songs and putting them in context. And also, I feel like Die With a Smile makes more sense on this album now. When I remember when the track list came out and it was Disease and Abracadabra, and then all the way at the bottom, Die With a Smile was there, and I was like, why is that song on this album? It doesn't seem like it fits at all. It's supposed to be like a country type ballad. It's with Bruno Mars. It doesn't really make sense. And now that I'm starting to hear the tracks and we're halfway through, I get it. And it's interesting, like, to make a record that builds a bridge between Die With a Smile and Abracadabra, that she can make an album that honors and, yeah, builds a bridge between those two kinds of sounds and effectively is doing that. It's pretty crazy. So in a way, so far, how I feel about the album is like, it's a real show of her artistry. I feel like it's a real testament to her talent and her commitment to and her understanding of music as her art medium. And it also feels like a certain Lady Gaga has died or passed on. That happened a long time ago, and that there's something else that's emerging. That makes sense. I mean, she's done films since her earlier albums. She's done a country album. She's come a long way. She's had multiple engagements. She's now, I think, married, or she's at least engaged. Yeah, she's been through a lot in her life, and she just has a different affect, a different embodiment now. And I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about it, or if it's really the same person, so to speak. Obviously, it is. She has an incredible voice. Her voice has remained incredible, but there's something different, and it's really evident through this album. Not just because the genre and the type of music that she's referencing, but because those references are alive in her for sure. But just there's an energy to this that's very different, and I could tell that now everything's making sense. The graphic design, the color scheme, everything is starting to make sense. So we'll see how it continues with the rest of the album. How Bad Do You Want Me? So unfortunately, someone texted me about this song, How Bad Do You Want Me, and was saying that people say it sounds like a Taylor Swift song, and so now I hear it. So I don't know how I would have felt about it if I didn't hear that, but there is an interesting thing going on with the sound, and it's definitely reminiscent. This is... I don't like to make blanket statements about songs, but I don't know that we needed this one. Okay, so I've always said this. I know that Lady Gaga is a very cheesy person. I find her, like, she's kind of corny and kind of cheesy, and that's okay. And I think that's why she resonates with such a wide audience instead of being more of a niche artist, like an FK Twigs or something like that. So I get it. I understand that she can be cheesy, and most of her music is kind of like, okay, like, you know, generalized statements about love or generalized statements about freedom or identity or whatever. But this is pretty bad. Okay, where she's doing the Lady Gaga talking in that, like, sterner tone of voice in that lower register. That's a great addition to this song because it makes it somewhat salvageable. She's still a really good freaking singer. She's still an incredible singer. I don't know if I would have clocked this as Taylor Swift-esque because I'm not a Swiftie, or like I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. So I don't think that I would have made the Taylor Swift connection unless it was said to me. But I don't even really want to finish the last 12 seconds, but I will. It's so weird because some of these songs are like the vibe of Allie in A Star Is Born, and when I watched that movie, I had a feeling there was more of her in that role and in that movie than I think she probably has admitted. But like, this is that song. This is like almost exactly that song that she does in that movie that he like makes fun of her for or whatever. It's crazy. That is. I don't really know what to say. I'm a bit speechless. I'm just gonna go to the next song. Don't Call Tonight, because I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can handle that. Don't Call Tonight is track 8. Okay, 80s. Okay, it's already starting off not great in my opinion. It's pretty cheesy, and we've already like if you're gonna do cheesy songs, that's okay because again she's a really great singer and it's great production. Okay, that's fine, but how many do we need on one record? I'm never gonna electively listen to Don't Call Tonight. I don't think. I'm not sure there's anything redeeming about Don't Call Tonight. God. Okay. I'm just gonna honestly go to the next song. I'll listen to the last bit. Okay, Shadow of a Man, track 11. I like this first part. It's almost disco-y. It's a little bit Bruno Mars-y. The composition of his songs. This song sounds like a Bruno Mars song. This is crazy. Okay, so there's room for songs to grow on you, for sure. I've had that happen with her music. I've had that happen with a lot of music, and it's totally possible. But right now, I don't even know, besides Abracadabra and Disease, if there's any songs that I want to play recreationally. There's a couple I want to play to hear them again so that I can understand them and see if I like them, but yeah, okay. I don't want to finish this song either. I'm disappointed. Okay. We're just going to the next song, The Beast. Okay, the backbeat is so Phil Collins. Okay, so The Beast. This is really interesting. This is like a werewolf story, and the backbeat is a bit 80s. It's a bit Phil Collins. It's a bit Tears for Fears and some of their like experimental music. And the vocal arrangement is similar to the other songs. But this is really, to me, I guess, what was the other song? This reminds me of the Zombie Boy song. So this kind of creates some cohesion, and it's a bit more offbeat or interesting than some of the other records. Sometimes as I'm listening to some of these songs on the album, I forget it's Lady Gaga until I hear some of the tone in her voice that I'm used to. This is like so wild. Okay, that was The Beast. That one I'm really interested to hear again. So the last one that I haven't heard and that is new to us through the album is Blade of Grass, and it's the last one that's new to us. Okay, so this is her classic ballad that she always has on her albums. She always has at least one ballad. This is that one, it seems like. This is like a gothic ballad number that could be in like a remake of Edward Scissorhands or The Crow or something like that. I like it. There is something about the way she's singing in this album where she's like giving it her all that makes the whole album hard to listen to all at once because it's very intense. And I know she said something about like she wanted to make it feel like she's about to explode or something, and a lot about her intensity and chaos and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a bit intense. Yeah, Blade of Grass sounds like a movie music. Like it could have been in that new Beetlejuice. And this ending is very horror and liminal. Okay. Yeah, Die With A Smile makes a lot more sense now that I know what the album sounds like. Now I'm just curious. I think I'm going to listen to Disease. Yeah, I think Disease and Abracadabra do make sense in the context of this album. I think that they are the most cohesive with who she's presented herself to be up until now. I think I might like them the most. I'm not sure. I want to listen to the whole album again, and maybe I'll do that before I give my final thoughts. My current final thoughts are I definitely feel like this album is not what I expected from the singles from Disease and Abracadabra. It is definitely a reflection of what I've been seeing with the aesthetic and the graphic design that I didn't really care for. I feel like this album is more of an expression of that than it is, like, it's a mixture of an expression of something that is a bit disappointing and a bit, like, I get it. I get the vision. I understand the vision for this album. I understand most of the vision for this album. There's some aspects of it, like the dipping back into the summer boy and beautiful dirty rich style of singing, that is a bit strange in combination with this album. There's a couple of things that don't really make sense. The disco aspect, was not expecting that. There's a lot to process and a little bit to grieve, but overall, I don't know. I would probably rate this album like a 7 out of 10. Yeah. But I did watch that like little press conference she did with Spotify, and I found her to be like a bit more reserved about this album. I haven't watched any of her other interviews yet. She just released one with Zane Lowe. I haven't listened to that one yet, so I'm curious what she says in that one about this album. I feel like I understand what she's trying to do with it. I feel like she's moving on in a certain kind of way, but I don't really understand what she's moving to. And I think that's like, there's a bit of a limbo that this record illustrates. But we did it. We got through it. And I'll take a look at some of the songs that I was interested in. I don't know what to say. Okay, that was first listen to Mayhem. Okay, so that's a picture of me with tears in my eyes after watching her Saturday Night Live performance just now. And I feel like watching the interview she did and watching her performances with the songs has resolved a lot of the questions I had about this album. I feel like it's more of an 8.5. And obviously that's separate from the rate that I would give it in terms of my taste level. But I think that the work that she puts into her work and her art, and the execution of her references, and yeah, I think what she was trying to do with the album, and the excitement I have because of what she's doing, because of what she did with these performances, to see what she's going to do for future performances and on tour, and what kind of world she's going to create through this album, I think is very exciting. So a lot of that was resolved.